Just do desktop or
second desktop too. And went live doing that.
Yep. And that's all we want to do, right?
That's what we're going to do. Switch it, Brad.
All right. Let's rock and roll. What do you want?
Brad's got a piece going on. I want to see what he can hear.
Oh.
The early part is easier. Oh, I can hear the exact opposite. When you say harder, the voice harder than 16 years. Yeah.
Imagine that. Yep.
I can tell you.
Oh, we're already. You're watching it. Oh, cool. So we're good to go then.
I did not try. I just saw the screen go from "we'll be starting soon" to slides.
Yeah. So,
That's just for audio.
So for us, you will the arrows work? Where is our mouse?
That's all I need.
Why won't the mouse move to the second display?
I told her no.
There it is.
I have a small one.
No, it's not going to do that.
What's the question that's asking there?
Yes, right now audio from that microphone.
Yeah, it's
I
not
can see
going
that.
I can hear it.
All I need is
What about advancing with slides? Any ideas there?
Start the slideshow. Get out of here.
Oh, that's right. You don't need to see the interview.
Yeah.
It's gonna have to make that in place.
That'll work.
Streaming.
Well, there's people. 9 a.m. They
don't actually have a fish in there, do they?
Yes, it's fishing with fish. That's what happened with the
I haven't seen them yet, so.
I don't want to just go to the lines. Don't worry about losing them.
I basically offer
it's not that it is if you look at it based on what's behind the couch. I really want a garage. Are
you close to the customer? Sure. The topics on. Is that stuff in the keynote right here? All right. No, we'll just advance through that. I suppose we have to stand in front of the camera for this. No, the camera's not going until Paul.
That's not till second.
So we look up right now.
Put a sign on the door.
Thanks. So do you want to?
Go for it. It's your house.
Hey everyone. How's it going? All right, I've been absent for a little while, but it's kind of nice to have you all back here at Town Hall again. Show of hands, who here was at the first time Mac Adams group was in Town Hall? Like, who was at that meeting? Oh, who else new and hasn't been in Town Hall before? Nice. So it's a nice news right there. All right, so my name is Bryce Carroll. I do work at JS Software. I'm a desktop services specialist / cast for admin. I was one of the full-time members of the steering committee. I'm more part-time now. So, where'd Brad go? Brad, get back up here. So we're supposed to be doing introductions here. Just raise your hands here. How many of you use Caster Suite and JSS in your environments? So I think it's safe to say you all know what we do here. So I don't have to go into too much detail about what we do and why we do it. But as far as introductions of with the group go, I think we'll let Brad handle that.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Well, this guy right here is Bryson, works for JS Software. I'm Brad Schmidt, I work for Hopkins Public Schools. Bill Smith, 318. John Letter, where did he go? Oh, John's right there. He works for Hopkins Public Schools as well. Thank you for coming out tonight, everyone. I'm glad to see such a nice turnout here. We have do you want to keep going?
Go for it.
Okay. So we've been socializing. That's been good, I hope. We're just doing a little introduction here. We're going to get started with the news real soon. We're going to have a nice healthy break in the middle here. And then following our break, we're going to have our main presentation, which hopefully you've been thinking of Microsoft Office questions. We will be talking with Paul Bowden, and we will be doing a Q&A over Hangouts tonight. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's about it for that.
Cool.
Anything else? Otherwise, jump in.
Yeah, sure. We're going to have pizza and drinks being delivered here before our break. There was a typo on the website. There is no beer, I'm sorry to say. But we're going to have Black Sheep delivered here in a little bit, so we'll get to enjoy that during the break. Let's switch right into the discussion. Yeah, let's do that. All right, so we always like doing a segment where we go over what's happened since the last time the group was all together, do all the big highlights, do some roundtable discussions, maybe have people from the community voice in things that they think are pretty important too. So the group all talked about some of the big highlights that we've considered since the last time Mac Evans had a meetup, and Bill pointed out that Apple did Patch Tuesday, where every single OS got a major update all at the same time. That includes iOS 9.2 with a variety of features, including mail drop, which has been in OS 10 for a while. OS 10 11.2 was an incremental update. It had a lot of improvements under the hood. And then we had watchOS 2.1 along with tvOS 9.1.
Do you have another mic to center on the room at all? Or
Yeah, sadly, this is the only reinforced mic.
Huh.
Yeah, we're working on that. So, just really, guys, I mean, you need this so much. Like, does anyone have anything that they want to talk about when it comes to like this? I don't remember the last time Apple updated all their OSs on the same day. Although the updates didn't really seem to have a whole lot have much of a theme with them this time around. They all sort of fixed their own things or introduced their own features. Is this a pain to anyone?
Yeah, did it cause any problems for anybody? Did it break anything? Yes.
It did. This man wants to speak.
What did it break? 9.2 seems to have caused. Yeah, sure. Oh. Press the button. Gold. Press the gold. Hello.
Hello. Hey, there we go. How you doing? Well, I'm from Shakopee Public Schools, and seems that 9.2 has caused some problems with our some of our devices' ability to update inventory. Doesn't seem to be widespread, but it is. It doesn't seem to be global, I should say. It is pretty widespread, but not all devices on 9.2 have issues updating inventory. Some do, some don't, and it does seem like nothing before 9.2 has any problems updating inventory. So we actually went and blocked the Apple software updates yesterday because of it, waiting for the next update. Well, we did a little bit of testing with somebody here at Redmond to confirm that indeed was the issue, and it does seem like it is. There's a Apple Database article about it that they actually posted yesterday too, acknowledging the issue and acknowledging that they're working on it, which is also kind of unusual.
Yeah, that's actually one of our next slides, because I've actually been out on 2 jump starts now, iOS jump starts of all things, where 9.2 hit, and I saw that problem again today. We didn't really have a choice. We had to use configurator in order to be able to supervise the device, and then we had to do some experimentation, but configurator wanted to update the device. We didn't really have a choice. It did it, and we did not have apps come down at all. My first jump start, we actually saw most of the apps come down, but this is the first time I've ever seen none of them come down. Even self-service, which we were trying to manage, or device assign, I should say, that one didn't come at all.
I saw that today.
You saw it
I
too?
did. One iPad, absolutely nothing. Most of the apps, but one got nothing.
Right. Configurator 2, that's right. Exactly.
How many people here push apps in their environment?
And are you guys using the device assigned apps, or are you using Apple ID still? Device assigned? Yeah. That's it. That's the problem.
Johnson, solutions there.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Go ahead and pass that over.
All right. This is it. This is the one that we were talking about,
Yeah.
or part of it. Actually, I'm sorry, this is a security update. So Intego, they're a big security firm. They have reported that this 9.2 update actually had 50 different security fixes in it. That's huge. That's a lot of security fixes. One of the vulnerabilities that I thought was kind of interesting was this one right here, HSTS. There are certain websites that can require you to connect them to HTTPS. They want your client to connect over a secure SSL channel. But if you had, and I like how they put this, someone with a privileged network position, to me that says network administrator. A network administrator could actually work around that, probably not intentionally. I imagine this is just kind of something that could have happened. But a network administrator could have pretty much bypassed that and allowed HTTP connections. Basically, pretty much allowing anybody to sniff what was happening between that secure connection, over that secure connection, that client versus the server, with the server. Just wanted to point out there were a lot of bug fixes in 9.2. So when 9.2.1 does come out, hopefully anytime, you guys are aware it's in beta right now, right? I mean, 9.2 has only been out a week, and there's already a beta of 9.2.1 to fix the problem. So I'm expecting that to come out pretty quick. You want those 50+ security updates when that happens. And this is where Bryson gets to talk. He was really excited about this.
Oh, I'm so excited about this. So Swift went open source. Who was following that? A few people, maybe? What's that? Oh, that half counts. So Swift going open source is a really big deal. One of the big things is that Apple sort of promised that they were going to do this when they first introduced the language back at 1.0 at WWDC. So it's finally happened, and that has really big implications. Who here has actually like played around with Swift at all? I mean, it's deeper than doing some scripting in Bash or Python, but like this language is where Apple is going for all projects in the future. It will phase out Objective-C and be the programming platform for all things Apple for the next 20, 30 years. That's what it's going to be. The big draw about it is that it is so much easier to write Swift code than staring at the spaghetti mess that is Objective-C and not understanding a single damn thing about it. You can actually figure out what's going on in Swift code because it's actually really easy to read. It's simple to write. There are a lot of good draws about it. But what happened here is that when Apple open sourced Swift, that immediately opened the doors for it to go multi-platform. In fact, Apple released all the tools needed to run and compile Swift code on Linux right out of the gate, which actually means code that you're writing for a Mac will run on Linux as well, granted that you have the same libraries between them. There might be some OS X specific stuff that's in there that won't be available for Linux. But the thing is, like, you have a language now that works in two completely different platforms that Apple is the main driver behind. Is that on this page? Yeah. So there's actually a sandbox. IBM, as soon as it went live, IBM posted out on their website a web-based sandbox where you go to this web page. It has a little editor on the left-hand side where you can write Swift code, hit compile, and then it drops the output on the right side. It's sort of like a poor man's playground. Like you've probably seen Apple's demos of the playground where you're writing code on the left side and it's automatically doing it on the right side. Same thing, except you have to click a button every time you want to see the results. But that's running on Linux. And I think IBM was actually one of the key players driving behind this open source effort because they wanted to use it everywhere. Another fun thing that I saw was a company started doing work on making Swift into a WebKit language or a web framework language. So they were doing a web framework completely written in Swift, which means you could write apps in Swift, have your backend in Swift, and everything just talks to each other seamlessly.
So the sandbox that IBM wrote, is that using the Linux libraries and not the OS X library?
Oh yeah.
So
well, there's the core for Swift, and then there are going to be platform-specific libraries that crop up because there are going to be API hooks in OS X that you aren't going to see in Linux.
So either use the microphone or stand behind the microphone.
Oh, that's right. Gotta stand over here so the camera can hear me. Here, you take the microphone.
We'll get them to talk on it.
Absolutely. So, is it picking up really well? I got a loud voice like that. So, and of course, one of the first things that people started tweeting about was the fact that Apple open sourced it. Of course, it's already been in OS X for well over a year now. They put out all the Linux stuff. People were asking about Windows. Thing is, it's a community-driven language now. Apple steers the ship, but the community gets to feed into it. So people are actually already to work on making compilers for Windows, which means we'll actually see Swift that you can write on OS X, Linux, and Windows. So it's sort of like Python almost. You write it once and then it works everywhere. Swift is now going down that road. So it's actually really, really exciting. It's got some big implications about where app development is going to be going in the next 5 years. Because the tools have to get written first. It's like we don't have any IDEs for Linux yet. You know, you still have to write in a text editor at this point. But that'll probably happen pretty soon. We'll see the development environments on Linux start to integrate Swift into that, and then be able to build your projects out of those. So you get things like code completion, syntax highlighting, all the wonderful stuff that Xcode does. You're going to see those features start to propagate across other platforms, and you know the barrier to entry goes down sharply the moment the community gets Windows versions of all this running as well. That's the sad truth. You know, once it's on Windows, then it goes everywhere. But it's working on Linux right now, and you know, in my environment, backend stuff that clients talk to all runs on Linux. So this opens some doors for me to start moving some things away from Python down the road and having it be in Swift instead. And then I can more easily make them into compiled things that run instead of just plain text scripts. So I mean, like, I don't know, is anyone else curious or excited about any of this? Got any comments about that?
The guide that you're using, is that just the PDF that they give out to start with? Is that when you start for a? I think I turned it off again.
It's on now. No, now it's off again. Press the button so it's blinking green. Now, there it goes.
The guide that you're using when you started off with this, was it just a PDF guide, the ebook that they gave?
Oh, no. So, I mean, that's a great place to start. Apple is the only publication that's updating their stuff with every change they make to Swift. The big thing, though, to keep in mind is that after Swift 1.1 or 1.2, they stopped making really large changes to Swift, and now it's more all incremental and evolutionary stuff. So Swift 2.0 is not, from what I understand, way different with a lot of things that break older code from going from 1.2 to 2.0, whereas 1 to 1.1 broke a bunch of stuff, so you had to rewrite a bunch of things. It's getting more stable, and they're now just sort of building up the language. So Apple's resources are always up to date, and the problem is that book publications are sort of falling behind, especially the ones that were written for the older versions. Even so, what I actually am following through with is going back to Will's awesome little put months ago about the fact that if you are a Hennepin or St. Paul library card member, you get free lynda.com access. And there is this brilliant guy who was doing Swift videos for lynda.com before he went to another e-education platform. And he has like 3 70-hour like Swift courses all broken up in nice little chunks, and I've been following through those to learn the language. And I mean, it's really great when you actually can listen to someone explain what he's doing in ways that don't make you feel like an idiot, and then actually watch him do it on the screen, and you can follow along. He puts all the source materials as downloadable links on the Lynda site, so you can actually grab his completed files and compare them to yours.
Can you repeat that? Is that Linden?
Lynda.com, Lynda.com. Yeah, if you got a Hennepin County Library card, we should put the link to the patron sign-in.
So just so everybody knows, because we're recording this on Google Hangouts, I'll do show notes afterward. Might be a week or so before they're up, but also have on our website got a link to lynda.com right there. So if you go out to www.nspmacadmins.org, search for that. One of the books that I've got is about either if you're a St. Paul or Hennepin library card holder, you can get access to it for free through your library. What's that? In Washington County, so I don't know in particular about that, but I have heard somebody mention, I want to say from the Shakopee area, maybe he's here or not. I kind of remember hearing something about it. If you have like a library, I don't know what you'd call it, partnership, a trust between the two, you might actually be able to get it through Hennepin or St. Paul.
Use my library.
Check out the library, because if you've got a card, all you have to do is go out to this particular website, special website or link on lynda.com, sign in, and you've got access to everything for free.
I don't believe Washington County yet.
Washington probably doesn't get it?
No, they just got new administration, so maybe soon.
All right, cool.
All right, so ultimately, just sort of keep your ear to the ground about this stuff, because you're probably going to see huge changes across platforms, all coming from Apple's open source effort, which is really exciting.
Have you written anything in Swift yet?
Yes, I have.
Anything cool?
Yeah, so all right, fine. We'll do a 5-second plug here. Yeah, the proof of concept that I'm writing in Swift right now is an iOS app that goes out to a server to pull in bundles that contain little HTML web apps that you write, but it keeps all the content local. So it's sort of like if you want someone to be able to make a small little app or service or a video player or something and have all the files and everything kept local on the device instead of going out over the network to get it, you have them make their little web page with all the content, you zip it up, put it on the server. When the app loads up and it's been deployed by an MDM and configured, it checks into your server, pulls in those bundles, and then presents a list view of all your mini apps that a user can tap through and interact with.
So you're starting with something easy then.
Something easy. Pretty much. Yeah, that's my first little thing. Because the whole idea was if you want to give an organization an easy way of leveraging iOS devices without requiring a bunch of developers to write all that stuff, everybody has tools for making web pages. And if you could just bundle all that content together and deploy it, then you maintain some control over your organization's information and what they're doing. Because if it's a managed app, the moment they manage the device, it yanks that and all the content with it. Then we're going to move on here. All right, Bill, was this one yours also?
So I think this is one that actually John found, but I thought it was pretty interesting. Anybody know Aaron Heimer with Enterprise iOS? That website has actually said that they found something interesting about iOS versions. Typically, when Apple releases a new version like 9.2, they will keep the older version, the prior older version, alive for just a little while. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can get to it, but it does mean you can install it if you have access to it, and it will stay signed for a little while. But the important thing to take away is older versions eventually get unsigned by Apple, which means you cannot install them at all. So the takeaway from this is pretty much you got about 13 days after a release. So in other words, 9.2 just came out. More than likely, Apple, and I don't think I'm saying anything wrong, he might know something, but if you do, speak up. But I would be very surprised that Apple has unsigned the 9.1, whatever that one is right now. How you would install it, you can always download IPS helpers, but it should still be signed probably even at this point, and you still have that time to use it, to get it on your devices, especially for mass deploying devices. So again, the takeaway is you've got a little bit of a buffer between versions before the older version will not install, period, for your mass deploying. So how many folks here are either in the middle of or have just finished probably many large iPad iOS rollouts? Anyone from education? A few of you. All right. So it might be valuable for you to know in the future, but that was the takeaway from this one, from what I can tell.
All right. All right, who has one of these sitting under a tree right now? Nice. So yeah, the iPad Pro. Does anyone have one yet? They're awesome. Wait, do you have one?
Maybe.
There's someone at the door right now.
Oh, excellent.
Anyone want to comment on the iPad Pro? I mean,
Mike does. Mike wants to comment.
I gave up a Mac. This is my iPad Pro, and I do all my work at Jamf through my iPad Pro. So,
how's it been living up to your expectations?
you know, the first couple days were difficult. I use iPad, most often for case administration. My smart keyboard did not come until last week, and that's when everything changed, because that's everything I can do on Mac, I can do pretty much on iPad at this point. I do have a virtual machine of Mac running off of vSphere. I need it, but it's not. So,
So, question I've got for you, is that going to replace your laptop?
Already has.
You already have?
Yep.
You're happy with it? Happy so
Oh,
far?
yes. Very nice.
You have the, did you say you have the pen or not?
I have that. Yep.
Ha.
128 LTE.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments about the iPad Pro?
Yeah, we're right here.
Three of our instructors already bought them with some end of year money and they replaced their MacBook Airs with it.
And
Flat out.
wow.
I mean,
I'm having a hard time believing it.
They do Word and email, but that's it. But for them, it's great. They already replaced them. They gave their MacBook back.
Holy cow, no regrets so far, huh?
No, well, to get the iPad Pro, they had to put their MacBook back in inventory.
Oh.
Budget, so, yeah, I love it.
Sweet deal. So, a question I've got, now how many folks are enterprise? So, probably about a third of you, almost 40%. Do you folks in enterprise, do you see this as being something that you will be incorporating into your environment? I know they're doing it here at Jamf already, but is it more for education? Is it more for enterprise? Who's looking at using it? Not everybody at once. Yeah, we got Brad right here.
I work in education for Minnesota State College Universities, and we have no plans of using the iPad Pro so far. Any administrators request it, we might have to pay for them, but regular faculty and staff would probably say no to them for the time being.
All right, so as far as the enterprise goes, there's all the Adobe mobile apps.
Oh yeah, we saw those demonstrated. They haven't been released yet?
For the most part, our designers use the Lego touch QHD screens.
Okay.
And things like that, which works pretty. So, jury's out that, maybe someday.
But at least there's been a trial. Very cool.
So in Rochester at RCTC, we have a handful of them iPad Pros, mostly driven by our art department because they're looking for ways to instruct them with the pencil and the pressure sensitivity. That is what they're after, and it's a better pencil than the other ones they've looked at so far.
So the pencil itself is actually really good?
Yes, and the fact that you can plug it in and charge it off the lightning port versus having to take it back to some place with USB to charge your pencil.
Sweet.
I've been speaking with the Apple business teams, and they've been saying they've been seeing technically really hot in certain industries and like job roles. So they've been saying a lot of realtors have been coming in.
Realtors?
Because they can do dual screen, or like, you know, dual mode, so they can show the map and they can show the picture of the house. And they've been seeing a lot of people in the medical field that don't want to carry around laptops, but still do charting and things. That's the two biggest people they've been seeing buying.
Realtors and medical field. That's pretty cool.
I was just gonna say, the few administrators that I already have that have basically only been using iPad for 2 or 3 years, they want them because, well, it's just a better version of what they already have.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on that topic? Or we can move on to the next one.
This one's always near. I'm Office, so you know I'm going to put something in about Office almost every time. We're lucky that for the second half of our evening tonight, we've got Paul Bowden that's going to be talking about Office. But this is something that has come out of Paul participating in the Mac community. In particular, there's one thing that you probably noticed if you've been trying to deploy Office for Mac, and that is if you push it through Casper, or if you push it through Monkey, or if you install it through command line or ARD, the license file gets trumped. I'm talking in particular the volume license file. Paul heard about this, and he's been working with Mac admins to get that fixed. So come January, version 15.17, that issue will be fixed. In the meantime, there was also another bug that was discovered because of this. The workaround of this, if your license file wasn't deploying, then people discovered that they could copy the com.microsoft.office.licensing v2 plist from one machine to another machine to another machine to another machine, and lo and behold, they've got all of their Office applications licensed. Yay! That's a bug. Microsoft is going to squash that bug come version 15.20. So if we're looking at about a new version every month, we're looking at probably March, April, something like that. What that means is all those Macs that you've deployed with Office 2016 and you've licensed them by copying that volume license file from machine to machine to machine to machine, come version 15.20, they're going to break. The apps will stop working. So one of the cool things that Paul has done for us is he's giving us a volume license serializer. This is just a little app that all you have to do is just push it out to your machines and it will fix that file. That's coming in January, along with this update, which is also in January, that fixes the problem to begin with. So for a 3-month period, you have the opportunity to, if you've done this, copy that file, you have the opportunity to fix it. And if you don't, Office will stop working and you're going to have to either reinstall it or you're going to have to run this volume license serializer. So how many folks have deployed Office 2016 volume license yet? Holy cow, most of you. All right. How many folks have copied that com.microsoft.office.licensing plist file? All right, probably 6 or 7 of you from what I can tell. And how many folks were aware of Paul working with Mac admins to fix this? Most of you. All right, cool.
How many of you are the Mac admins Paul is working?
Yeah. So it'll be really neat to kind of hear his perspective about working with Mac admins on this. But this is something you need to know between basically January through March. If you haven't deployed Office, don't worry about it. Use the regular installer. You'll be fine. But if you've already deployed Office and you've done that trick of copying the file, you're going to have this to fix it.
How is that going to be released, the serializer?
Through the Volume License Service Center. So wherever you could download your Volume License installer to begin with, that's where you're going to go find this too. Good question. Thank you. Oh, question.
If you improve your volume license customer, Paul will give you private FTP credentials to download the serializer and 15.7 early, if you can improve your volume license customer.
Yeah, good point. Paul's given, he set up an FTP site so that if you want to help test, and it's not only test, he's actually saying this is the final file. So if you're ready to get it, if you've got a volume license account already, if you have access to Slack, go in and talk to Paul and he'll fix you up.
What's Paul's last name?
Bowden. And you'll get to meet him in just a little while.
Are we going to let Office 2011 die without fixing this bug?
That's a good question, because that bug has kind of been there in 2011 too, hasn't it? It's not supposed to be there. We'll have to ask Paul about that. I want to say for the most part, that bug has come and gone in Office 2011 with different updates. So I know I've seen it come 2 or 3 times. I don't know why it keeps happening, but now that we've got Paul actually working on these installers, hopefully, you know, he'll get us taken care of. So, any questions about Office? All right. And I think this is the last one. This is something that Bryson wanted us to do, which is kind of fun. It's Christmas time. Have you guys seen the Darth Vader Yule log? I wish I had a picture of it. Yeah. Thank you guys for forsaking Star Wars tonight to come hang out with us. We appreciate that. But that was one of the things that I thought was kind of fun about this. What would you guys recommend for your Mac nerd, your Mac admin geek, as far as apps that you'd like to share? What do you like? So one of the ones that I can tell you about, has anybody ever heard of Wi-Fi Explorer?
Yes.
All right, stuff like that. You got one? What's?
Oh, I said yes, I have heard.
Yeah.
I do have one. We need to find the jar here.
Oh, what's that?
Well, I've been using this text editor called Atom, which has been pretty neat. It's free, open source. A lot of people contributing different add-ons to that. And you may have heard of Atom. You may have heard of this piece where you can actually load a package that will run your script. So if it's a Python script or Bash or whatever, it's kind of almost like a IDE of sorts. And it's kind of nice that you can just run it right there and see the results. And I've enjoyed it.
Anybody else use Atom?
Right.
Yeah, that's fun. Anybody got
any other thoughts? Any other cool apps you've been using? Maybe. Oh,
Pete, definitely. You'd better have several.
So for those of you who are terminal nerds, and remember back in the old days of green screens and 300 baud modems, you go to the Mac App Store and find yourself a copy of Cathode, CATHODE. It mimics the old terminals. It even has a degauss button. You guys remember the degauss button? You can change your baud rate. You can add more jitter, more fuzz to the stuff. It's really fun. It's like $10. It was worth every penny of it to relive the old days.
That's great.
All right, who's up next?
So another one that's free, but it's kind of nice when you might happen to be spending a lot of time recently working with iOS issues and needing to see the console. The app is iOS Console.
Yes.
Kind of nice to be able to just open up the console from the iPad that you're tethered to instead of needing to pop open Xcode or do some one of the tools that's way too much for just putzing around doing console files and sending them back to support doing that kind of fun stuff. So that's a nice one.
That's why I love it jar.
I hooked on this using Slack, and there's a Mac admins group. I don't know if anyone hasn't heard of it. Check it out. Is there a link on it here?
So yes, macadmins.org. You can get hooked up with Slack, and there's all sorts of great people there. Who all is using Slack here? Let me rephrase that. Who isn't using Slack here? All right. So there's a great resource out there. It's an instant messaging platform. You go to macadmins.org. You'll get a request, or you'll be able to request an invite there and join the conversation. And there is a MSP Mac Admins channel there as well, where I know some of you are definitely hanging out and and whatnot. So it's a great place where we can all connect and keep the conversation going after we, meet tonight.
Alright, so raise your hands. How many admins here end up interacting with something that they need to manage clients through the terminal app? You? How many of you did a ticket or a message or something while you're enjoying coffee out of the office or you're in bed and you don't want to actually fire up your laptop and try to go through all that crap to get into whatever server or client terminal that you need to? If you, If you want to spend a little money on it, getting Prompt 2 from the great developers at Panic and having it on your iPhone and your iPad, if you have to have both, is pretty awesome. I actually like it a lot more than regular terminal for a lot of cases. Turn on VPN on my phone, and then I have all the servers saved. I just tap into one, I'm right into it. It's like $5, I think. Panic 2 or Prompt 2. I think it's like $5, 5 to 10. The original was $5. Might just go find after this. That keyboard sounds so amazing. It's so good. $7.99. Prompt 2. Great little app to put in your arsenal for if you're an iPad or iPhone user. Might as well just throw another one over there. There are a few code editors out on iOS. The one that I bought and enjoy a whole lot is called Coder with a K. It supports a whole bunch of different languages for syntax, ties into Box. So I think it supports Git. It might support Git. But it's just a really great script editor that I can save everything back in Dropbox on. And then all the files are synced up. If I go back to my Mac, the files are updated and I can keep going from there. The iOS road warrior.
Is there a Mac app then called Coder?
There is not, no. This is just an iOS editor.
I would imagine there's a few of you in the room that are photographers. And you probably noticed that the Photos app in El Capitan now allows extensions for other apps to extend inside of the Photos app. And there's a really nice set of extensions by Mac Fun software. So they're actually standalone apps, but they work as extensions in Photos. And the reason I bring them up, so the set of apps is Intensify, Tonality, Noiseless, Focus, Snapfield, and FX Photo Studio. They have a deal going on right now for Christmas. Normally to buy them individually is $308 for the whole set. Right now you get them for $100 for the whole set.
Does it include declutter?
I don't know. I don't know, that's a good question. But I've been playing with this kit for a while, and there's some really good stuff in there. So if you like photography, it's a pretty cheap way to get a whole bunch of really good tools.
Thanks, Steve. Anyone else have a cool tool?
I know it's controversial, but the battery pack that no one likes to look up. 2 people at work have got it, they can't live without it. I don't know how they can live with it, but they can't live without it.
So what's the battery pack? Oh, Apple's battery pack.
Don't call it a hump. Yeah. Tim Cook said not to call it a hump.
All right, anyone else? Especially hearing some reviews of paid apps is kind of nice because we can all jump into some free apps and you know how that is, but sometimes $100 or $15 sometimes is worth the difference to pay a little bit of money to get a lot more utility.
There's an application named Copied. It's like free on iOS. I think there's an app purchase for $3 or so, and about $8 on the Mac. And it's your passport history. So anytime you copy something, it puts in a copy, it syncs via iCloud on all your devices, and you've got a write history, you've got everything you copied on any devices. So that's
right. So that sounds pretty awesome. Awesome. Anyone else?
Sammy looks like you got one more thing.
I was just gonna say reasons to get an Apple Watch.
Get him on the mic.
More reasons, wipe-proof reasons of getting an Apple Watch. Everybody.
That's fine though, for $100 off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a brother-in-law who reminds me to have a text message just about every morning when I wake up. Thanks.
You get a heartbeat from your brother. Well, wait.
You too can get that from your brother.
Yeah, you didn't find a killer app for the iWatch or Apple Watch yet?
Did you have justifications for getting one?
Make a business case, right?
All right, with that. That's it, right?
That's it.
So we have pizza, and we have drinks, and John, we have your salad. But has anyone here had black sheep pizza before? Yeah, it's coal-fired pizza. It's really great. Dig in. Half an hour, close to less than.
Yeah, so probably about 5 till. I'm going to try to get Paul on the line in the
5 minutes
meantime.
too. We'll get started with the main presentation, but load up. We got plenty of pizza.
So we got to make sure we keep that thing. That's where the microphone's at.
Okay.
All right, we're done with that.
What's that price you left for Star Trek trailer? You can play that Star Trek trailer now.
Let's get Paul invited. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Well, you want, yeah, you got that cup that right now?
Yeah. We're already going for Windows 10 by next summer.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How about you?
Yeah, great, thank you.
So, are you hearing any kind of feedback or anything? Just want to make sure we don't drown you out.
No.
Oh, that's not bad.
Everything is good. Yeah, I'm actually I'm at home because there's a winter storm coming in, so I've headed home here.
Are you driving right now?
No, I'm at home, just on the couch.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So we're actually kind of breaking for pizza about 5 till. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Cool. So.
I'll just sit here and hang out and do a little bit of work until you come back to me.
Sorry, I was expecting more problems. I didn't think we'd get you on this easy.
Yeah, I was expecting that as well. I don't have a very good internet connection from home either, but it seems to be working okay.
Awesome deal.
How many people have you got there?
We got a count. How many people do you think?
Say there's about 30 or so.
About 30 folks.
Okay.
So we got a good size. We got 2 viewers online right now. So hopefully they'll be coming back before long.
Nope, just dropped to 1.
What's that?
It just dropped to 1.
Yeah, it's probably John.
Oh, good call. Yeah.
All right, so it'll be kind of a blank area for a little bit, but
All right.
I'll back with you in a bit, okay?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
I have a little bit of apprehension because I'm not feeling looks like Fast and Furious. Yeah. I know Jargon Line, yeah. It's just, yeah, that's disappointing, but. I think Star Wars benefited from that. Sorry, somebody like to get that. Because we're basically, I think it's all about 2016 also. We're starting to. 2 weeks later, right. Are they officially banned? No, we can't do it. It's also less than games security test list. I should probably do that. Our, we go from employee state from the state employee. So with that, I mean, it was never 53. Well, as long as it's a student, so it's never going to happen again. We basically yes. We're going back to my office. No, we're I forgot to pull out the same things. Well, part of the thing is, it's like nobody wants to see that again. So, he must have got that. Yes. This is a court. Oh God. Oh no. I'm sure. It'd be better if it was something like rest in peace, Lord Judge. You guys have all read that theory, right? Jar Jar Binks. This guy goes to such lengths, like examining like our footage from all the prequels, like in his case. It's a really good read. I don't believe it.
It's like Jeff, but it's matter of opinions, like your opinion. I never had a problem. Like, no one was always a fine against people like the office. Never really the aesthetic. We really just though. Like I had I was going to a lot of those US ones holy shit, that's fine. The mobile app was a lot better. I don't know if anyone is actually sliding. I've got a friend of mine who works and apparently I didn't feel the news. Sorry if I'm getting
Oh yeah. I don't know if you guys know this actually is directly everybody all agree. Yes. Yeah. Battlefront 2 is kind of like nobody agrees. We could do that. Want me to do it in there?
You know it's an extra I've also never read my words. Say what remember that whole story. We appreciate it. Yeah, just send us a visual. Yeah, send us anything religious. And we sort of after the first couple of them sort of where this file is. Yeah, what's on Yeah, it's like 24 weeks. I heard a radio.
Hey, Paul, you still there?
Yes.
Yes, you do. All right, it's 5 till. Let's go ahead and get started again.
Be right back.
Oops. Crap. Get away from that.
What are you looking to?
So now I want to get it to where we've got Paul up on the big screen.
Oh, okay. That's just our screens that we've got going here, isn't it?
So this is extended, it's not mirrored or anything.
There we go. So do you want to just mirror it for now?
Yeah, whatever would be easier.
Ready to go. Perfect.
Get that pretty face up there. Everybody ready?
All right, let's roll.
All right, so today our main presentation today is going to be with Paul Bowden. Am I saying it right, Paul? Bowden?
Yeah, it is Bowden.
All right. Yeah. Mike. I don't know who's got it. Right. So anyway, Paul Bowden is a developer with Microsoft. Cool. Yeah, I could probably use that better. Thank you. There we go. Paul Bowden is a developer with Microsoft. I'll let him introduce himself in just a little bit. But back in November, I got to go out to visit with the folks at Redmond who make Office for Mac. And one of my missions that I had was to try to find the person. I wasn't really hopeful, but my mission was to try to find the person that could help us with that installer issue that I was telling you about, where the license file wasn't getting deployed. And maybe, see if we could get something else working. I found Paul. Everybody kept saying, go speak with Paul Bowden. So I emailed him and he said, sure, I'll meet up with you. Just, let's set a time. I ended up visiting with him my last day there just for about an hour, and it was probably one of the coolest parts of the whole trip. Not only did I meet the guy that was responsible for making the Apple package installers for Office for Mac, but he's the guy that could also fix a lot of things. Right before I left his office, I said, hey, by the way, are you familiar with Slack? And he goes, yeah. And he said, good, do me a favor, go type this URL into your browser, look at it later. There's a lot of Mac admins who would really, have really good ideas. Just go lurk, see what they have to say, and you'll get an idea of some of the problems that we're having. The next day, not only did Paul sign up for Slack, the Mac admins team in Slack, the next day he introduced himself. And since then, Paul has been working with Mac admins to fix installers, to fix a lot of things. So Paul, at this point, I think all you have to do is just start talking. If you would, introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, and tell us what you've worked on.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to William for inviting me along here and also getting me involved in all of the communities up on Slack and Mac admins. So yeah, I've been at Microsoft for, I guess, 19, coming up for 20 years now. So you may think of that as probably a bit of an old timer. I'm actually a young'un within my team. There are some others in my team that have been working on Office for Mac for like 28, 29 years. So I'm still kind of the young boy. I've only been working on what we call the Apex team, which is the Apple Platform Experience team, for the last 3 years. Most of my career at Microsoft, I was in the Exchange Server team. And I worked on pretty much everything from OWA through to ActiveSync, through to Outlook, through to MAPI. So a lot of kind of the lower layer foundations of the product. I was also the release manager for Exchange 2010 as well. So I pretty much managed the entire 2010 release end to end. And so, so after spending all my time in Exchange and dealing with performance and scalability and kind of high scale back-end systems, I thought it would be pretty cool to have a peek at the front-end client to see what it was like working on a client team. I'm not really an old-time Mac person. My first Mac I got in 2008, and I got kind of pretty interested in that. Love the kind of the aesthetics and the design patterns there. And so I moved into the Apex team. And I've worked on a variety of things with inside Apex, although really what I concentrate on now is the deployment pipeline. So I pretty much own everything from versioning of the product through to installers, deployment, MAU, updates, kind of that entire pipeline. I'm kind of one of the primary developers working in this space. There are a lot of kind of operational people that I kind of work alongside to publish XMLs and publish packages out to the various CDNs. So I'm kind of just like one of the cogs with inside the wheels. I think what was really kind of enlightening for me was not only to engage with the Mac admins on Slack, but kind of truly understand what it is I could make better. And, I always kind of think of this. I go to work every day. I turn up hopefully by 10 a.m. and I sit down at my desk and I'm, and the reality is I sit down and think, what can I do today? What is it what can I change with inside the product that would be most impactful and most valuable to everybody out there? And of course, being in Redmond here, you get somewhat siloed to the real world out there. And so it's great to have some type of outlet, some sounding board. And that's really how I've used Slack. Although there's been a lot of kind of questions coming in to me about how do things work and wouldn't it be great if we could do this, I've also been using it as a mechanism for floating ideas like, hey, I've got this idea, is this valuable or not? And in some cases it's been highly valuable. In some cases people have said, I'm not sure that you should spend your time on that. And so that kind of really helps me prioritize what is it that I do day to day at work that allows me to just make your lives easier.
There we go, had to unmute. So one of the things that I thought was really cool, you saw a lot of the blog posts and you saw comments that were made about Microsoft. It's always fashionably negative to say things about Microsoft, but yet I thought how you came into the Slack channel was really kind of cool. Somebody actually kind of made a snide remark, I guess you could say. He said, Mr. User, if I remember right, and you actually said, I almost started to introduce myself that way. But what's been the experience of working with the Mac admins? I think they've welcomed you. I hope you've had that same type of experience yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of mentioned this to you before. It was kind of humbling coming in. The very first time I actually switched over to the Microsoft Office channel on Mac admins, I thought, well, I'll take your advice and just look for the first 48 hours to see what's kind of going on up there. And then as I started reading, it became really obvious to me that people were very kind of skeptical about what we were doing, about our abilities. One of who I would call a good friend on Slack now, who is Hunty or Cam from Australia, I think he said to you, "Oh, you met the intern then," and of course, it was really his comment that I thought, man, I have to jump in here and try and save some face myself, because sure, I want to eat humble pie and say, yeah, I don't know everything, and you guys can really help me out here. And understanding what we need to do in the product to make it better. But it started off, as a kind of a very kind of skeptical group. I felt a little bit, I won't say aggressive, but it was more of a case of, you guys were just out there and being completely unloved and on your own and really just frustrated. And I could just sense the frustration coming through on the forum. So I really made it my kind of personal mission to come along and see how many problems I could solve. And what was kind of interesting is I actually I went through all of the posts on the forum as far back as I can remember, and I made a list on my whiteboard of, okay, here are the things that I need to tackle, the prioritized list. And actually, I could only come up with 9 things. And what was enlightening there is that everybody kind of had the same problems, and it doesn't matter whether it was a university in Australia or whether it was a company in Detroit. You kind of all had, pretty much the same issues, and most of them I could fix pretty easily. And of course, I'm not a marketing person. I'm in core engineering here, and so I didn't really just want to wave my hands and say some words and say we're listening, it'll get better. It's really important to me that I put my money where my mouth is and really do make a big effort to make the product better. And so in doing that, the 15.17 release, which just came out a few days ago, that was kind of huge for me, because a lot of my efforts in 15.17, a lot of the fixes, a lot of the code that I wrote, it really was based on the feedback that I got from the Mac admins, and of course, going along with that, I was super sensitive to just not saying to everybody, well, just wait for 15.17 and it will be great. I really wanted that validation that that when you saw the build that you were pleased with it. And so I set up a private FTP forum. There are about 50 people on Mac admins that have accessed now to that FTP server, and I regularly post builds up there. And it's a place where I can share out a build and say, hey, this has new functionality, and I really want you to kick the tires and tell me if it breaks. And if you tell me that it's good enough, then that gives me confidence that I've fixed the problem and I can ship it. And that's played out many times. And in fact, just yesterday, I posted a new build of Outlook 2016 up to the server and sent a message around to Mac admins for some of the resize issues that we've been having, and got some great feedback. A lot of folks just jumped on that build straight away, tested it out, gave me the confidence that we'd fix the problem. And about 90 minutes ago, we actually released that build publicly. And so it was really through the kind of the efforts and the collaboration with the group here that we're able to turn around, fixes and get on top of these issues. And so I feel that I have a fantastic relationship with everybody up on the Mac admins forum now. They're very kind of courteous. They realize that I'm just kind of one cog in the wheel, and that I don't know everything, but I kind of try my best to seek answers where possible. A lot of the folks up there, they have questions about OneDrive and Skype for Business, and I kind of have my fingers in those pies as well. So I try to help out wherever possible, and especially as it gets to perhaps some private beta releases or TAP programs, I'm very much going to make sure that the Mac admins get every opportunity to get hold of that software, so that they can both try it out and also give us that feedback that we need.
Cool. So one of the things that you told me about while I was in your office had to do with MAU, the Microsoft Auto Update application. And Paul's already mentioned some things in the Slack channel about this, but Paul, if you would, can you explain what we're getting ready to see with these divergent builds, the ability to be able to kind of test things a little bit early with that?
Sure. So a couple of years ago, the Windows team started Insiders program, where people could kind of opt in to get early access to beta builds of Windows. And we've really never had any type of formal program in the Office team. And so over the past few months, we've been working on on essentially an Office Insiders program, and this touches all platforms and endpoints. So it's both like Office 2016 for Windows PC, it's Android, it's Outlook on iOS, and so I'm responsible for the Insiders program on Mac. And the way that we've kind of implemented our Insiders program is that I'll kind of throw out some dates and how this looks. So with the release of 15.17, we updated MAU to 3.3. And this new version of MAU has support for multiple channels. So prior to 3.3, MAU only knew about a single channel, and that is the production channel. The way that MAU works is it has a daemon. It wakes up every 24 hours. It goes to check an XML file sitting up on Microsoft.com, and it does a version check, a comparison between what you have locally on the machine versus what's in that XML file. And so it's just really a single set of XML files that MAU is used. So with 3.3, we made it possible for MAU to subscribe to different channels, very basically different URLs containing different XML files. How this plays out is you'll kind of notice that our rhythm for release, monthly releases of 2016, tends to be around about the 10th or the 11th of each month. The underlying mechanics of how we coordinate releases is actually on the last Sunday in each month, we fork the code and then we stabilize it for a period of 2 weeks. And so at the end of those 2 weeks, that's what you see as the monthly update. So what we're doing is we've created 2 new channels for MAU to subscribe to. The first channel is you can get access to the builds at the moment that they fork. So essentially the last Sunday of each month, you'll be able to subscribe to the internal channel, and you can get access to those builds straight away. And those are full production builds that are supported by CSS. So you can do that. The other channel that you could subscribe to is the Insiders channel, and that's essentially the fork plus a week. So it has some kind of additional fixes on top of that kind of internal build. So it's kind of a good mechanism that for IT departments to see what's coming out, what we've been working on for the month. It's also, quite honestly, a great mechanism for us to assess quality of builds as well. One thing that is kind of hidden and somewhat opaque is how we use telemetry inside the product. And I know William's asked me about this multiple times. Like, you know, are you still the big evil company that's collecting all of our data and doing bad things with it? Well, obviously, no, we don't do that. But we have, when I get into work in the morning, we have these big monitors on the wall, these big, like 80-inch monitors, and I stare at them for 5 minutes when I get in. And the monitors give me a real-time analysis of what the health is of deployments out there. And if people are having problems seeing kind of error dialogues, whether people are having problems downloading updates, if Word is crashing every time you launch it. And so these kind of monitors do some analysis, and it kind of gives us this kind of scorecard and index into hotspots. And that allows us to go in, dig in, and figure out what's going wrong and why is Word crashing for every other user in China or Japan. You know, is it something to do with fonts there? And so it really allows us to kind of prioritize and focus in. And so that telemetry, the kind of the phone home ability inside the product, while we've kind of had it, we've always had it, it's incredibly important for us as a team to be able to measure the health. And that's really what we use to analyze, is there something bad going on out there? Do we need to rush out a hot fix? And I mentioned the 15.17.1 build of Outlook that we released 90 minutes ago. We also released a new build of Word today as well, 15.17.1 of Word. And that build specifically came out to address 2 crashing issues. And it was only through telemetry could we actually see those issues. And so part of the Insiders program, the benefit for us with Inside Engineering is that as people sign up for the program, they will get, you know, early access to builds. They are of good quality, but it will also allow us to kind of get a handle on any particular crashing issues or any serious issues, so that we can address those before, you know, the production channel gets updated. So how does that look? Well, there'll be another new version of MAU coming out on the 4th of January, and that will be MAU 3.4. And that will have an additional checkbox in the UI, and that checkbox will control essentially your subscription and which channel you want to subscribe to. And from that point onwards, once you subscribe, you'll start getting kind of early updates. So that's kind of a quick synopsis of MAU channels and the Insiders program.
All right, perfect. For those of you, the reason I'm asking Paul about telemetry, there is a plist file for the Microsoft Auto Update application, and inside there is a key that says basically disable telemetry or enable telemetry. Telemetry is crash reports, for one. If you disable telemetry for Office, you disable sending crash reports back to Microsoft, and those are hugely helpful for Microsoft to be able to troubleshoot and fix problems. Telemetry is also a couple of other things, but the one thing that Paul assured me whenever we were speaking was telemetry does not send anything without your permission. If you go into the preferences for Outlook or the preferences for Word, you'll see a little box that says send feedback. And you have the option of either checking that box or not checking that box. It's up to you. If you check that box, the telemetry goes back automatically, including crash reports. So crash reports are huge to these folks. So we've talked a little bit, Paul, about some of the telemetry and the Office builds and working in Slack Mac admins team. Is there anything coming up else that we might want to know about? Is there anything that we shouldn't know that you can tell us? And after that question, I'll see if anybody's got any questions for you here.
Sure. So you did warn me this is being recorded, so I'll be careful what I say. I guess there was a big thing that happened today, a couple of big things actually. So you remember I said that there were 9 things that I wrote down on my board of, you know, these were the common things that everybody was asking for. And I actually knocked off 7 of those lists off that 9 of in the 15.17 release. I actually resolved the last 2 today. So the upcoming 15.18 release, which the official release date will be 1/12, so the 12th of January. If you subscribe to the Insiders program, you'll actually get these builds on 1/4. So a little bit earlier, and then anybody who's on the Mac Admins forum, who's up there and has FTP access, you'll actually get the first 15.18 build tomorrow from me, and that has 2 key fixes in there. The first is it gets rid of those keychain prompts. So if you've ever kind of imaged a machine, you've run Word, you've gone through first run, especially as of an Office 365 customer, it creates this kind of keychain entry, and then as you start up the other apps, you get this slightly obscure dialogue coming from the OS saying Microsoft Excel wants to access confidential information in keychain GUID. And that scares a lot of people, and so we've now resolved that issue. The 9th issue that I resolved today was controlling access to the open and save panel. A lot of people, especially volume license customers who don't activate or sign into cloud storage, their users got pretty unhappy that our default behavior when you hit the save button is it always comes up with that kind of non-Mac-like panel where we show you kind of all like the OneDrive for Business, all the cloud storage providers, and there's like a little button at the bottom which says on my Mac. And the big request that everybody was telling me was, I want to kind of pre-configure the build so that it will always default to on my Mac, so that when I hit the save button, when I hit the open button, I get the standard open and save dialog box on OS X. And so that was the 9th issue on my list, and I actually checked in the fix for that about 2 hours ago. So those are all done now. So I now have fixed the 9th issue on my board, so I guess I'm looking for more issues to fix.
So every issue that we brought to you, including the license, being able to control the open save dialog, everything got fixed?
I guess there was one more on my radar, and that was a command line version of Mao. And so that one's still on my list. That really is the last one. So, I guess there was a hidden tech. There was one little thing.
So anybody who's not familiar with what Paul's talking about, people have asked for the ability to control the Microsoft auto update through command line. Is that something you guys would want? Do you get your updates directly from Microsoft, or do you actually download them first and then deploy them? Who gets them directly from Microsoft? I'm only seeing probably about 5 hands go up out of the whole group. So I'm not going to say that's unimportant, Paul, but as far as the people here, maybe we'll have other things for you to do.
Sure, and I would, I obviously can't see everybody in the room there, but I'd love to kind of get your feedback and thoughts as to other things you want to see with inside the product.
So tell you what, how about I turn around the camera? Do people have questions for Paul? Yeah, I've already see a couple here. Hold on, Paul.
Okay.
Let's see if I can get this stabilized. All right. Can you see the group okay?
I can.
All right. Who has a question? Start off with you and pass it over.
First, thanks for reaching out to us. It's great. I can't thank you enough for that. But the second thing is, you mentioned Skype for Business. Maybe I'm not aware of it, but is there a build of Skype for Business for Mac? Because right now we're just running Link, and it's not quite El Capitan happy.
Yeah. If I had a penny for each time somebody asked me that question. So let me kind of give you the inside scoop as to what's going on there. So Link 2011 is the latest version of the real-time client, which is out there. Obviously, we went through some like organization changes between Link and the Skype team, but unfortunately, kind of the Mac was a little in terms of its client, and we were getting like pretty frustrated internally that the Skype team wasn't churning out new builds and new functionality and something that looked a lot prettier, especially on Yosemite and El Capitan. And it turned out that my general manager, a guy called Eric Wilford, who ran the Apex team for 25 years with inside the group, he was so passionate about this that he actually left the Apex group, and he is now the general manager of Skype. And so him being the biggest Apple fan with inside Microsoft, he now has a vendetta to go and create the best Skype client for the Mac platform. And so Eric and I chat probably once a week, and he actually teased me a lot. I had lunch with him a couple of weeks back, and he showed me a build of Skype running on his Mac machine, and I was incredibly jealous and envious. So his team is working on it. I think the public dates are there's going to be a kind of an extensive preview or beta program starting in Q1, and then the full kind of production quality release will be in Q2. I know those kind of dates are a little fluffy, especially when you talk about quarters. I like to be a little more precise about those things. But one thing that I did impress on him is that, you know, we have a huge community of people that really want to get their hands on Skype for Mac and Skype for Business for Mac, and so that we should start up like a early build program as soon as we possibly can, and I'm hoping that will happen sometime in January. And definitely, if you belong to the Mac Admin Slack team, you guys will be the first people that will get to hear about that.
Awesome, thank you very much.
All right, good evening. I've got a question for you surrounding SharePoint integration with Office. It seems like about 2016 we lost the SharePoint plugin to the point that when we have documents that are accessing Office SharePoint, try to open them up in Office 2016, the plugin's not there. We can't actually check out to read and work on a document. We actually have to go in through the website, check it out, download it, and then open it in Office versus having an integration factor.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, I'm not that familiar with how the SharePoint access works with inside the product, so I can't. I know what you mean. I think what I'll do is I'll go ask that team tomorrow what they're planning on there, and if there are any kind of enhancements coming up. But yeah, I get the scenario. Just don't know what the plan is there.
All right, thanks.
The one thing I've also been working on, something that I promised William, was to try and get more engineers from the Mac team to join the Mac admins group. And again, another big thing happened today where Sundar Raman and Jeffrey Calvus from the Mac for Outlook team in Silicon Valley, they joined the channel today. And so I'm not just the only Microsoft person up there now. You actually have some application experts. Kind of, as I mentioned, I'm really in charge of the deployment pipeline. I don't know too much about the ins and outs of formulas or DB accessibility with inside Excel, for example. I kind of concentrate more on getting the bits to the box. But a lot of the Mac admin folks on Slack, they have questions about Outlook and roadmap and when am I going to see this feature. And so it's kind of great that my kind of colleagues from down in the valley, they've joined now, and they are the horse's mouth for Mac Outlook, and they will be able to give you direct answers to those questions. If you're kind of wondering like how we're organized. So I belong to the Apple Platform Experience team. So we work on Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook for Mac and iOS. Those are our kind of core products. We're 200 engineers. We're split half and half. Half of us are in Redmond, where I am. And we do kind of deployment and shared stuff, and Word and Excel in Redmond. And then we have 100 of our engineers in Apex. They're down in our Mountain View office, actually in Apple's backyard. And all of Outlook and PowerPoint is engineered out of that office.
All right. We've got somebody else for you.
I have a question that might be a little bit petty, but it's something to notice. It's gone away. I don't know if it will be coming back or if it's hidden somewhere.
I can see it, I'm afraid.
Okay. I got something might be a little petty that I noticed it's gone away in Outlook 2016. We used to be able to set a schedule to empty deleted items on quit. And I don't know if it's just something that's not going to be there anymore or if it's something that may come back. Just wonder what your thoughts are on that.
So I know what you're talking about. Is that where if you quit Outlook, you get that dialog that's supposed to empty your items, but it's hidden until you actually switch back, right?
Right. Well, like when you quit Outlook,
on the microphone.
Empties your deleted items on quit schedule.
Schedules.
Outlook 2011. Not good. Outlook 2016.
So you're asking for schedules. What happened to schedules in Outlook?
Yeah.
All right. Did you hear that, Paul?
Kind of roughly. It sounds like a question that I would get Jeffrey Calvus to answer, but it sounds like it was Outlook 2016 and schedules and deleted items, I heard.
You used to be able to empty them on quit. When you quit the application, you empty.
Repeat that for.
So I do know for IMAP, the feature that you had for emptying, the schedules feature that you had for emptying device or items on quit, I think that's actually moved into the account now. I think for POP and IMAP. As for Exchange, I don't know if they'd ever had that feature or not, but I think those are still there actually, just in a different place.
We have an Exchange set.
I could probably help you out with that because I do a lot of Outlook stuff. And Paul is referencing Jeffrey Calvus. He is the Outlook PM? Is that right, Paul?
Yeah. Jeffrey is an Outlook PM who is in charge of the schedule and features and prioritization for the Outlook for Mac product.
All right. So hopefully we'll see him in the Slack channel. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, he joined today.
Oh, what did he think about it?
I sent him a long email encouraging him to join, and finally managed to convince him to get signed in today. I think he said it. He mentioned the word fire hose, so I guess he's got a lot of reading and catching up to do.
Oh yeah, he does. Any other questions for Paul?
I got one.
Go for it. Paul, just so you're aware, this is Bryson. He's IT here for Jamf. He supports a lot of people. He's also one of our steering committee guys. He works with me on setting up these meetings. So he's important.
Yeah, well, thank you. It sounds like I've got to work extra hard with answering this question.
What about Mac App Store deployment? Because all the pieces are there, and I don't deploy a license. I have these people sign into Office Activate. And I have caching servers. And I hate downloading those multi-gig packages and redeploying them to my distribution points. So how about Mac App Store deployment?
Wow, what a loaded question. So would you, I guess, let's start. So today, OneNote is in the Mac App Store, and that's how OneNote started off its life. Would you like to see Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook in the Mac App Store? Is that part of the question?
You got them perfectly written for the App Store, and OneNote doesn't count. OneNote's been there for 2 years now. You rewrote Office from the ground up, and it's fully compatible. Just what's the plan?
Well, you're very perceptive. We did architect the 2016 product to run both, to be deployed via both the App Store and as a kind of PKG format, downloading from arbitrary URLs. I would say there are actually a couple of issues that we stumbled across, which has kind of caused us to limp along a little bit. The first is a purely technical issue. As you know, one big decision that we made about the architecture of 2016 is that we could support side-by-side installation in 2011. And that's especially because there are some big changes in the two versions. It so happens that the App Store can't support both 2011 and 2016 of the same application on the same machine. And so one of our big technical challenges that we've been working on with Apple is if you had, let's say, Word 2011 installed, if you were hypothetically to go download Word 2016, it would overwrite 2011 because we actually use the same bundle identifiers between 2011 and 2016. And so the App Store would just see that there's this new version of an application that already exists and would overwrite it. So I'm kind of happy to say that working together with Apple, we've actually resolved that issue now. So that's no longer a blocker for us. There are some, as you can imagine, some kind of big business decisions that we need to make before kind of going into the App Store. And so we're kind of still working through kind of a lot of those business and marketing issues right now. But from a purely engineering and technical point of view, you're absolutely right. We did intend to write all of these applications so that they could be deployed in the App Store.
Right there.
I love that answer. Questions? Anyone else? That one.
Josh.
No, he's right here. This is his face.
I had thanks for coming and joining us. I had a question about updates. There seems to be a few different ways to do updates for Office 2016, and I found a way that seems to work really well for me, but I want to know if it's the right way to be doing it. For me, what I do is I download the latest full installer, which I can use obviously for new deployments, but then I just run the new installer over an existing install, updates all the apps. Then I only have to download one package. So it's easy, but I don't know if that's the right way to do it if I'm breaking anything. And maybe you'll provide the right way, maybe it's doing it directly from Microsoft or downloading the individual packages out.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So fundamentally, you're completely in a supported state by doing that. And it's a scenario we anticipate and test. So if you just want to download either the standalone apps or the full suite installer and just essentially write over the top of your existing installation, that's a fine way to upgrade. You can also, as you're probably aware, download the individual updater packages as well. Right now, those updated packages, they are the full application bundle, and you can either get, that's what Mao downloads right now, and you can also see those as download links with inside the knowledge base article. One other big change that you'll see coming up in January is that we're going to start producing and shipping Delta updaters. And so those of you that know 2011, you know that the updates are pretty small. Each monthly update is about 120 megs in size. Unfortunately, our Delta updates for 2016 won't be anywhere near that size, mainly because of the way the applications are sandboxed and code signed. But they will be, the Delta updates will be 60% smaller than what they are at the moment. And in which case, if you're worried about, download sizes or the amount of, the size of packages that you have to push out to your clients, Delta updaters will be much smaller than just downloading the full package.
The new Delta updates, are those going to be still individual for each product?
Yeah, so in January, they will be updates for individual product, and then in March, we'll give you the option of having Delta update.
Cool, thank you.
The reason why it's taken a little bit longer for the week Delta update is that I have to code in some additional logic to take account of where apps came from and if they don't exist. So, for example, today you can either download OneNote from the App Store, or you can get down OneNote from the Suite install. And we have to make sure that Mao only updates non-App Store sourced applications. So we have to be careful with our logic to make sure that we don't blindly go and update an app that you've brought down from the App Store. And that's part of Apple's requirements.
Cool, thanks.
Cool.
Hello,
thanks for joining us tonight. We're gonna ask a question about comparing like Windows to Office. So I have a question from my users. They are complaining about the process of like signing in to Office first. We use a login license, and when the back gets that into computers, they have to click on Outlook preferences for like accounts, type in their stuff, and generally it takes too long. On Windows, we just open up Outlook and I'll discover that their username will be populated, their email will be that, their confirm, and things start appearing. Would that ever happen for Outlook, or would that exchange issue?
I can ask William to repeat that because I really didn't hear much about it.
If you microphone's right here, if you could actually just come up and speak into it, we're having too much extra noise here.
Which one's the mic?
So just
okay.
That's the camera.
So my faculty and staff from my college are complaining about the process of signing into Office, specifically Outlook, where they have to go to preferences, accounts, and type in their domain / username and then their email. On Windows, they would open up Outlook. They would just confirm their settings because AutoDiscover would take care of it. Their username would be there, the email would be there, and they would just sign in and things would start populating. Is that an Outlook limitation or an Exchange limitation for Mac? Because right now we're using, we started using Talking Moose's Exchange setup script.
Yeah. I've been trying to recruit him because he seems like he's solved a lot of problems for us. In fact, this is a conversation that's pretty active on the Mac admin forum as of this afternoon. And Jeffrey and Sundar were kind of responding to that. There are, in terms of being able to auto-populate the email address, a lot of that comes from Active Directory integration and account binding. And so kind of a lot of, on Outlook for Windows, we kind of get a lot of that functionality for free. That kind of doesn't come for free on a Mac. I think there's definitely a lot more work that we can do there. One of the big problems that I've heard of being reported is problems with Kerberos auth with Outlook. And I was talking to one of the Outlook engineers today, and he actually had a breakthrough in understanding why we saw authentication pop-ups just completely reoccurring in Outlook. And we're hoping that will be fixed in 15.18 as well. But yeah, definitely that's something that you should probably get up onto the Mac admins forum and see the discussion that's kind of raging at the moment about that.
Thank you.
Cool. Appreciate that. Any other questions from folks?
And also just want to do a reminder for anybody who's watching the stream right now, there's the Ask a Question thing down in the bottom corner of the screen that you can also select to ask a question of anybody who's online watching us as well. And I actually do have one question for you, Paul. So my wife actually works in finance, and she has a question. I just got a question phoned into me here about spreadsheets. Everyone's favorite thing.
Man.
So working with Excel, they often get spreadsheets in from their finance organizations that they work with that are in the 40 to 50 megabyte ballpark. They're 20-some thousand lines usually, and not only do they open quite slowly, but one thing that when they're working within the application and they change a field, that the updates to formulas are very sluggish. Any thoughts on that, or possibility of changes in the future towards that?
Yeah. Very much so. So I live on the 4th floor in Building 35 on main campus. And we're pretty kind of happy campers up there. Whenever I take the elevator down to the 2nd floor, which is where the Excel for Mac team sits, they run around with their hair on fire, complaining about performance and all of the issues that they have, and how that's the top priority for their team. So yeah, we have a lot of feedback and a lot of examples of not just issues with large files, but kind of scrolling and making sure that we're rendering cells correctly. And that is, I can absolutely say that that is top priority for the Excel for Mac team right now.
Any other questions?
One additional thing that I would mention is, I mentioned that we have like 200 engineers within our team. We're actually pretty small compared to other teams around Microsoft. So the Office for Windows team, so basically the engineers that work on Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook for a Windows PC, they're about 7,000 folks over there. So they are a massive team compared to what we have. So one thing we're really good at in the Apex team is we're plagiarists. We take a lot of their code and we kind of skin it and put some Objective-C headers on it. And recompile it and ship it, put a pretty UI on it, and then ship it for the Mac platform. So the calc engine that you have in Excel for Windows is in fact the same calc engine that you see on Excel for Mac. With Satya taking over as CEO, that's actually been an incredible change for us in Apex engineering because. Well, first of all, I can walk around campus with my MacBook and I'm not in fear of my life anymore. The second thing is that there is a huge effort underway to consolidate all the source code between the Windows version and the Mac version. And that's actually a really good thing because for the longest time we have like feature disparity between what's available on Windows and what there is on Mac. And we're kind of heading to that one day nirvana of having the exact same feature set across the platforms, which is definitely a long time in coming. It also means that we can leverage all of the features that 7,000 person team is working on. So as new features and better facilities come in on the Windows side, we can very quickly compile them under Clang and get them shipped on Mac. And so I would say about 80% of our team right now is actually working on that code convergence and rationalization. So I'm actually very much looking forward to the day where we have that parity.
Hey, Paul, you couldn't hear it because I muted everybody, but you got some pretty interesting feedback from that. You got some chuckles out of that.
Yeah, Paul, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
It's Bryson again. I just want to ask you, this 35-to-1 ratio of the Windows team to the Mac team, would you say with all the progress you guys made going from what was 2011 to 2016 with such a small number, attributed to the joy and simplicity of working for the Mac instead of Windows? Would you go on record and say that?
I couldn't quite catch the question. One of the biggest issues that we had, and the reason why there was such a big gap between 2011 and 2016 is we were working on Miramar. Miramar was the code name for Office for iPad. And so our team was completely heads down on creating an iPad version for a couple of years. And we had the Mac desktop kind of in maintenance mode for that time while we got iPad into shape. And then once we shipped Miramar, then it was full steam back ahead on the Mac client again to get that shipped. I'm not sure whether I answered your question.
I just wanted to know if you think that your team can get away with smaller numbers because it's so much better developing for Mac than for Windows.
I hate to answer, but let me say we have less committees in our team.
Thank you.
Any
other questions? All right, I do have one more question. I phoned in here, Paul, from the accountant here. It says, right now in Excel, you have to use custom formatting to get parentheses for negative numbers. It doesn't support natively accounting formatting for numbers in Excel for Mac. Is that on the board?
I have no idea.
Hey, Paul, are you trying to get the, who's the Excel guy that we need to get into Slack?
Oh, okay, yeah. Jeff Zhang. In fact, Jeff owes me a favor, so perhaps I need to call in that favor and get him to join the group. But Jeff is my counterpart in Excel there. He's kind of the Excel whiz. So
Your first one with that being number one priority, got somebody really excited on the phone here, so that was good.
yeah, he needs first.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask you the last question, just because we're kind of getting right here on time. We're going a little bit over. Hope we don't keep you too long. Tell us about your farm.
The farm. I'm looking over at my wife in the corner there. She's chuckling to me. So one of my big passions outside of tinkering with Apple gadgetry is we just bought 5 acres up here, kind of very, very north of Seattle. We're about 60 miles north of Seattle where I live. And so we've started our own farm, and we have pigs and goats and chickens. And in fact, we're building our own house. And so we're kind of starting a homestead up here. So I mentioned that I don't get into work until 10 a.m. That's because I'm mucking out the pigs most of the time. But, I grew up on a farm in England, and I kind of miss the farm life. I'm not really a city boy, so it's a great stress reliever for me around here.
Yeah, you got some really good feedback for that one too. All right, thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. Thank you, I appreciate it. I'll go ahead and let you go. Let's give him a hand.
All right, thank you very much, guys, and thank you, William, for inviting me along there. And you guys have a happy holiday.
You too, Paul. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, as we continue the live broadcast here just a little bit, want to talk about our next meetup. We'll certainly have some time here to chat amongst ourselves here yet, but want to talk about the next meetup coming up here February 17th. So go ahead and throw that on your calendar right away. February 17th from 5:30 to 8:30. We'll be meeting at Target headquarters here in downtown Minneapolis. So we'll be at the Target Plaza Commons. Of course, if you don't know where Target's at, they're right on Nicollet Mall. So a great meetup there. That sounds like we've got a lot of really cool things coming along with that. So we'll have that posting out on the website here real quick and have that ready to go. As I'm quick reading through Brian's notes that he sent me right before we got going here. So one note with that, just as some of the sign up for Target, there will be the sign up for it will look a little bit different, but we'll have all the details on our website for that, and that's just some of the requirements for meeting at Target that we have to do. So again, that is February 17th. So I think, what day is that? That is Wednesday. Yeah. So Wednesday, February 17th, usual time, which seems to really be working for folks. So 5:30 to 8:30 time. So that is what we've got for that. Oh yes, and that one, although I don't think it doesn't look like it'd be too much of a problem with the room, that event, Target does stipulate with that it has to be 21 plus event. So that'll be on the details again on our website as well. So I just want to make sure that that is out there. Does anybody have any just general questions, comments, as long as we're kind of wrapping up the group here for tonight? That was awesome to hear from Paul and really see where the Mac group, the Apex group is at with Microsoft, and hearing it's nice to see someone from the Mac side of Microsoft, which fairly or unfairly has often been thought of as the evil empire when it comes to the software side of the world, that someone really is engaging with the Mac admin community now. I look at that, that's a really positive step, that you actually have somebody advocating for the Mac side who's writing 9 things up on the board and crossing 9 things off of the board. So I look at that as a pretty positive step when we're really looking at all of our everyday lives, working with all the software that we have out in the field. So definitely thank Paul for that. Anything else from the group?
I think, if the group pools the resources here, we should try to get guest speakers from deployment at Adobe and Oracle to maybe risk their necks on one. You would love to hear that, wouldn't you, Oracle? Some Java deployment stuff? I heard some moves.
I know, like 1 week after Paul was in the channel, somebody said, when you're done here, can you go to work for Adobe?
It's working. They should take some cues from him.
Yeah. You're really seeing such a positive change there, I believe, anyways.
We didn't really cover it, but Paul's in that channel not because Microsoft asked him to be. He's there because he jumped in. His presence there is unofficial. So this is somebody that, he likes his company, he likes what he does, he likes helping people. He might say stuff that he might say stuff that we probably shouldn't hold him accountable to because he's not there officially. He's told us a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. Anything else from the group?
Any job openings or anything coming up? Announcements? Right here.
Target has one job opening I put in the jam job board, so it's a local job center, interested, go check that out.
What is it called?
Does it matter?
Oh,
I'll be hanging out here at the mic and grab any of the target people.
Great. Thank you. Others?
Central Schools also has, you're having 2 assistant support specialists who work managing a task for SEC environment.
Awesome. Additional job openings over?
Not available yet, but you too can have my job if you want. If you go Packers fan, you can move to Green Bay. UW Green Bay, I'm the Mac admin, housing, IT manager. I'll be leaving for Jeff, so if you want my job, come talk to me. They'll have the posting up sometime in the next 2 months.
Do we have to interview for it, or? Just show up. I'll give you my social. Just show up, pretend to be me.
One more.
Shockey School District, we did enroll me for Apple admin, be one of 2 great people that work in our environment. So the Shockey School is located.
Additional positions. We also have an opening in Hopkins Public Schools for a technology support specialist. That's also out on our website as well, hopkinsschools.org.
We've got, this would be for anyone here, but if you know of someone that wants an entry-level service desk type job, we just had 4 people quit last week, so.
It's actually really interesting to hear that many Mac kind of centered positions that are open in the area. So hopefully we can continue to grow the community. So anything else other support positions or positions in general that are open for anywhere? Great. Well, hopefully there's somebody here or listening online or catching this on YouTube, on the intertubes later. Is find something useful there to be able to go forward with and maybe make a job change too. That's always fun. Last questions, comments. Again, February 17th is the next one up. You'll see all that on mspmacadmins.org. One last one.
Just looking for some recommendations. One of our special ed teachers is
was looking for a wireless microphone for an iPad. Anyone can recommend something, either a Bluetooth or maybe something USB connected to an iPad?
For recording into an iPad?
For recording into an iPad, for special item.
I think we got folks over here who might be able to answer.
That classroom. Well, no, we're just looking for one right now. We have a specialist student that needs that capability, so we're just looking for recommendations.
Sure. Two for you. One, I don't know if it still works under iOS 9, but the USB camera adapter with the USB mic worked for me in the past. But the one that we heavily utilized in EdTPA, I don't know if anybody from K-12 is here, maybe it's actually just the state of Wisconsin thing. They actually need to film the students, student teaching, our college students in class. And there's a brand, I don't know what it is, I'll look through my bookmarks and I'll get it to you. It's something, it starts with an S, is the brand. Sure. No, it's not a Shure mic, it's some weird brand, but it's a Bluetooth mic about the size of this mic that you pair with it. And they have a proprietary app because the iOS app does not let you shoot video and record at the same time. But you can then use that microphone, Bluetooth distance 44 feet away, film video, kind of as a remote mic for it. If you're doing video, if you're doing just audio, that works with the built-in Apple voice notes. I'll look for it right now, though.
Thanks.
All right, anyone else? Otherwise, we're going to call this meeting to a close. And there's a little bar down the street called Redmond Pint. And a few of us might be over there afterwards. So let's continue the conversation there. I'm not sure what our stop time is in this room. Bryson?
What's that?
When do we need to be out of this room?
Do you want me to kick you out?
I'll kick you out. We should say thank you to Jam Software for hosting us tonight.
Moving over to the cricket fight, that's usually the plan after a meeting in this space.
All right. See you next time.